So Nintendo is celebrating 125 years. So that's 1889. I remember that random issue of Nintendo Power. Probably, I guess it was in 89 when they mentioned that it was a 100th birthday. Do you remember that? I remember that, and they did mention about being it was a card company.
I do, and that, I remember that issue because that's where I learned. You know, I think in a lot of, not now, but for those of us who grew up with a Nintendo, I mean, Nintendo did not exist before the NES. You know, we didn't. I mean, if you had a Game & Watch or something like that, you knew them from that. But
or saw Donkey Kong, maybe.
Yeah, you always knew Nintendo as something that was video game related.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I mean, the start with the Hanafuda cards and things like that, that was news to people like us when we read that.
Yeah, I think
cool.
I think what this tells you, a company lasting 125 years, especially one starting in the late 1800s in Japan, which was still semi-feudal by the late 1800s. You still had samurai in some area. To go from that to now, when think about in human history how much has changed in the past 125, how radically that's changed. Or any other period in history, 125 years would be nothing. This has been like millennia compared to those other times. The fact of the matter is, this company started with playing cards, transitioned into toys, electronic games, you know, love testers, to light gun games in arcades. Before, you know, remember they had Duck Hunt in the 70s. Duck Hunt actually shooting off of projector, and Wild Gunman shooting guys that were
they didn't look cute or anything. It was literally a shadow projection with a light gun.
And then progressing and finding their way into the market for Donkey Kong after Radar Scope failed, and how that was a huge, massive success. And then finding their way only a couple years later in Japan to a Famicom, one of the most successful systems ever, especially in Japan. And then Nintendo is not just a survivor. They kind of they see, I guess they've always seen what sells, what's popular, and they ran towards it.
Here's the thing: Nintendo has always been able to adapt and move along with time. I mean, they've been around for 125 years, which is why it's so sad that someone told me today that because of the Xbox One and PS4, the Wii U is just going to sink Nintendo. And, I mean,
yeah, they're dead.
They're dead.
They're dead.
Nintendo is finished.
They're all going to commit seppuku. They're going to go outside Nintendo headquarters and just go.
Oh man, the company is over, dude.
It's over.
They overstepped their bounds. So 125 years is a really good number to end on, Nintendo. But
you're done.
I'm sorry, you've made some minor mistakes, and you are never going to recover from them.
Because you don't have third-party support on the Wii U, you're absolutely finished.
Never mind that it's the only console I bother to play.
Never mind that they have, you know, so much freaking money in the bank. You know, they'll have to go back to doing love testers and things like that. Little toys.
They could sell them to the Xbox and PS4 players.
Well,
that's mean of me. I do want a PS4.
Well, what will happen is Nintendo will put out a love tester on the tablet, and then 6 months later, Xbox One and PS4 will do it.
Yes, exactly.
They're making fun of it.